What's up, gamers? We are back with some more modern action, and this time we're going to be seeing Hardened Scales versus Orzhov Blink. I'm, of course, NanMan. Thanks for tuning in and watching, everybody. We, of course, do have gameplay every Monday and Thursday, and it is getting closer and closer to summer, so we are starting the Saturday content. So you can expect this week and the following week to be the VODs of our Twitch stream. So you guys can be able to, in case you missed the Commander stuff, if you want to watch that, check it out. After that, we're going to be getting into the MTGO gameplay stuff. We have our Affinity League, all 5 of those. We'll see, depending on how the MTGO League goes, or like viewer-wise, because it is a long video. We've got it edited up essentially to like 2 hours and 40 minutes for all 5 games, because we're trying out the setup with doing the basically live broadcasts cut up for YouTube. Not much cutting up of it, really just sort of like, all right, here's the game, here's the sideboard stuff. We're not doing the fast forward for this one. You know, depending on how it goes. If views don't do so well, maybe we'll do the cut up versions, the speed versions for the games. But I know people like seeing sideboard options for it, so we'll see. But let's get in and talk a little bit, because we've got a really exciting match for you, because there is a crazy comeback in this series here. I don't want to spoil who gets the comeback action going on there, but you know, these are 2 very fun and powerful decks. You know, of course, Hardened Scales a little bit lower on the tier, because there's a lot of artifact hate that's running around. So it does become a little bit more challenging, but it is very explosive, very powerful. It does have the ability to kind of win out of nowhere. I say win out of nowhere because a lot of times people don't see the lines in order to like basically get got by it. It is a little bit of a complicated deck. You might think, oh, it's straightforward, you're just moving counters around and stuff like that, but it does have a lot of nuances with it. I have played the deck on and off. Like, I am an old school modern player, so I played Hardened Scales back when Winding Constrictor was the way to go. You'd use Hardened Scales, you'd Winding Constrictor, and you tried to do some counter manipulation before they go, well, this is just a little bit, you know, slower than we want it to do. What if we just speed it up and get rid of the Winding Constrictor and go even faster? So now, you know, I put it back together, did some updates. We get to see the Market Back Walker being one of the newest updates to the deck. Of course, Aether Drift did get us some pretty cool tools for Modern. Of course, this is one of the Ketramos as well, which is kind of the reason the Orzhov Blink deck has popped up so much into the kind of top 5 of the meta tier, if you will, which we'll be doing a kind of meta tier breakdown coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. But you know, in a couple weeks still, we're going to be letting the meta settle a little bit more. It's still pretty solid, pretty powerful deck, still running rampant, of course, but you know, we're seeing how things are going. Of course, namesake of the Hardened Scales coming out here to help with the counter manipulation. Ozolith making things even easier for keeping counters alive. The Orzhov Blink deck has a lot of 2-drops in it, a lot of abilities to blink, of course. Ephemerates, our doggo. A lot of cool things. So, of course, does have access to things like Fatal Push, Solitudes as our kind of go-to removals, March of the Otherworldly Light. So it does have a lot of tools available to it. Now, Game 1 definitely has a lot more that you've got to worry about as a Orzhov Blink player. You have a lot more options in the sideboard, but you can rely on things like the Solitudes, the Fatal Pushes to kind of get there. So we got a big setup turn here. With Zabaz getting ourselves built up. Orzhov Blink player does have the turn they're hoping for, that turn 3 Ketramos there. Of course, Relic is out to kind of help make things a little bit easier. You can start kind of chipping away at things. Now, Ketramos does let us lose a life, draw a card. We see that taking place right here. Whenever you have a card that is put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn only, you get to draw a card and lose a life. So we get to see that. This Relic of Progenitus basically continual card draw, and you need to have 7 cards in exile. It doesn't necessarily have to be from one player. It could be 7 cards total across both graveyards, both battlefields, whatever you want to think about it as, to make sure that Ketramos is able to attack, block, do all that kind of good stuff there, and utilize his kind of lifelink power there. But we get to make a construct on the Hardened Scales, and we have a search. What are we searching up here? Well, there's a lot of cool tools in there, but Pithing Needle works out very nicely against a Ketramos that has kind of hit the battlefield. Not much has kind of happened yet, so to shut off the draw effects, we can get the Ketramos kind of targeted. Not the Ketramos. The Pithing Needle is going to be targeting the Relic Representative specifically to make sure that that's just basically a useless creature for the moment. Now we're rocking out with our Perona one-piece tokens. Those are currently our construct tokens for the deck, because, you know, if you guys are following One Piece, when this match was recorded, it had been right after the ban list and Gecko Moria got hit with the ban. I had been running the Gecko Moria deck for quite a while and have some cool alt art versions of my Peronas. Perona is one of my favorite cards in the One Piece TCG, so, you know, you guys know I'm a Sultai player. Love me some blue, black, some green, and that kind of has translated over into, of course, the actual One Piece as well. Other card games, like, okay, I'll play blue and black. You know, I'll play mono black. I'll play, you know, these different kind of versions of it. But getting into this game here, we've got the Zabaz bringing the beats. Not trying to go for like an Inkmoth win or anything crazy like that. There's no Arcbound to help manipulate it and set up just like a big explosive. Also, it's risky to go all in against the Orzhov Blink deck. You know, things like Solitude, things like Fatal Push. Like, here's Solitude now. Pitch this. Solitude, get rid of the Zabaz. Now, of course, Ozolith does see if a creature leaves with counters, it doesn't matter where it was killed or exiled, still counts as leaving the battlefield. So those counters do get to be manipulated and moved on over to the Ozolith, making things a little bit easier here. Now, Solitude, do we get the Ephemerate? Do we keep it around? No. No luck there. Couple Fatal Pushes, though, so like that construct not as threatening as we might think. We got the Emperor's Bones maybe here? No. Looks like we were debating, and now we're fine to kind of wait. You've got to push to deal with the construct. Kind of lets ourselves be a little bit safer here. Gemstone Caverns coming out, and the players are joking. Right on time. Exactly what we wanted to see happen here. Singleton. Now, there are a couple different versions of the Hardened Scales. I'm rocking out with the Simic one. I like having access to some blue. You know, of course, there are some powerful spells that help us out with that. But not seeing any real indication of the blue side of things at the moment. But Zabaz coming out here. Of course, going to continue to get a little bit bigger. We'll just kind of manipulate, move to combat. The counters go up for Zabaz. All right, our Perona, a.k.a. our Construct, which, for those that are hanging out with us, we are working on getting some Construct tokens made right now. So stay tuned to see what those look like in future videos. The artist that we're working with is still in the process of finishing up the tokens. So I'm really excited to be able to show those off for everybody. All right, so what do we got to work with? Yeah, there's the Emperor. It looks like we were hoping to get that 4 land, so we still have access to other tools here. But Emperor is going to be nice. Keeps getting us the ability to draw cards, because beginning of combat there, we had this conversation of like, can you adapt at instant speed? We could not remember, and we looked it up briefly, and then the initial thing that we saw said no, but then we looked again later and was like, oh no, wait, you can. It's just an activated ability, and it doesn't limit it to only on your turn or things like that. The actual adapt came out in, like, what is that, Return to Ravnica. I don't know. It was a Simic mechanic at one point. And we're going to eat that Solitude because, yeah, that's the scary part, right? Now that you know you can adapt on other people's turns, that leaves up a lot more opportunities here. But we'll make another construct, another Perona token there. It's just barely off camera. But we are looking to... We haven't done the full, like, extend the camera views too much more. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we can do with it in the future. But for now, there's enough information here. With us talking, you guys should be able to kind of keep track of the board state here. Yeah, there we go. Start sliding stuff over.
You don't like it that much. Search good? Yes.
All right. What are we searching up now? There are things like, you know, Shadow Spear, the Lava Spur boots. There's options available, of course. Checking the hand. Checking through the list. What do we go with? Actually, a second Zabaz here. So we get to Spider-Man meme, look at each other. If a modular trigger ability would put one or more +1 counters on a creature you control, that many +1/+1 counters are put on it instead.
I'm going to keep this one. So we have these 2 counters go onto this Ozolith.
Ozolith, bang. Of course, we get to do this manipulation of counters.
And we'll put it on.
Of course, also, we ran into the issue of the one time that I decided that I was going to play Hardened Scales was the time that I forgot the big dice. So you guys have to deal with a little bit of smaller dice here, but at least it helps get you kind of tracking and knowing what's going on here. All right, Botanical Sanctum. I still need to get signed copies of Botanical Sanctum. If anybody finds some, message me. Let me know. I'll buy them from you. I need a play set of Botanical Sanctum signed. All right, so now a lot of people like see the situation here and the bait, and you know, the more that you play with the deck, the easier it is to see different lines and stuff. We're gonna take that Ozolith counters instead of going all in on our Zabaz. We're gonna put some of that on one of our constructs over there, just giving us a little bit more diversity. Kind of go wide instead of just the pure Pierce style, knowing that fatal pushes are available. There's the potential for the Solitude. So let's make the Zabaz fly here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artifacts. So a 9/9 construct. And then our 7/7 flyer. Pretty good set of creatures here. Push, get rid of the Zabaz. All 7 of those counters will move on to the Ozolith, and Zabaz will end up dying. And then, of course, because it's a modular, we're going to move all those there. And then, of course, Emperor of the Bones will jump in the way. No problem. Pretty scary, though. So many counters available. Is that 12 counters on that thing? Plus it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So 16 construct. Yep, seems pretty good. All right, we got another relic here. Doesn't really help us while the Pithing Needle's out. Only have 3 cards in exile right now, so we really got to get rid of this Pithing Needle. And looks like we're going for it with Flicker Wisp here. Yeah, Flicker Wisp, of course, enters. You get to exile another target permanent. So we can do that. Ketchamos can let us draw a card. Yeah, pop the relic. All right, draw. off of the relic, draw off Ketramos, go to 8.
Not to remind me.
Ooh, we missed the relic draw. We only drew off of the Ketramos there. So, this happens often where we're watching matches and we miss these little moments here that the players missed in the moment. But because we have this like perfect information type deal, we're able to identify and find these little lines here to hopefully make it easier for players if they're playing against the decks or playing these decks. They see these lines in the future and they go, oh, okay, don't let this happen. Don't forget, if I'm exiling all the cards, Relic also lets me draw a card as well as Ketramos. So there's 2 triggers here. But there's the Arcbound, so now things can be all cleared up. Opponent is tapped out. They've got 2 blockers available. And we've got 1, 2, 3 creatures. Activate the Ink Moth, and that'll be it. We'll scoop it up. 3 attacks, guaranteed victory there. With the Arcbound, easy peasy. All right, sideboard time. Let's get into it. Of course, there's a lot of options available when you are in white to be able to bring in even more single target removal. We start to see a glimpse there of some of the stuff, like some of the Path to Exile, some of the other cards getting pulled from that board into the main deck there. So mulliganing to 6, our Hardened Scale player, Orzhov Blink, ready to go. Fetch land pass. Nothing too crazy. But we'll see who gets to rely on their sideboard cards first and what that's going to look like here in game number 2. Now, of course, if you're interested in seeing any of the deck lists, let us know. There is the Moxfield link in the description. There's also links to a bunch of other stuff like our socials. We've got Blue Skies and all that kind of good stuff. Our Twitch streams, all that kind of good stuff. So if you're interested in seeing any of the rest of our content that we've got, check out that stuff. But Surveil Land's going to pitch another land to the graveyard there. Emperor of Bones right away is nice. Emperor of Bones is so crazy. Gets out of hand very quickly. Oh, yeah. What do y'all think of the white border Urza Saga? I've been sneaking in those white border cards. I love them. You guys saw the Miracle list a couple of weeks ago. Then it's one of those that's got the Teferis that are white border, but there'll be some more of the affinity or more of the blue-white control Miracle list coming out in the future. We've also got a couple of other good ones. Got some Boros Energy. We've got some Yawgmoth stuff. We've got some Omnath. We've got some all kinds of goodies to show you guys. All right, that's our Eldrazi spawn because, again, we're missing some stuff. But that's a good one, right? Anybody fan One Piece TCG? All right, so a setup turn here with the Rumble. Nothing too crazy. Something's going to get eaten, of course, from the graveyard. Yeah, but Seiju's going to get eaten and bring the beats for 2.
I will not block.
17 lives.
Ketramos follow up here? Are we ready for it? Oh, no. We're just going to do a nice little blowout here. March of the Otherworldly Light. Pay 1 white, get rid of your Urza Saga. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value extra less. Now, I put it in the graveyard on accident, so we do have another little mistake happening. So that would increase the number of cards in exile. Because, again, Ketramos does care about there being 7 or more cards in exile. So a little bit of nuanced things that mistakes were made, but Does it impact things? We'll see this game. I mean, it could if you think about, like, without a relic and you're only relying on the Emperor, you've got to really be able to be hitting some cards every single turn. So one less could make all the difference here. But another Rumble, we got to see one Rumble already. One got pitched to the graveyard off of a Rumble, and now we have another one. And we're going to grab the Hardened Scales, throwing 2 lands and a Zabaz in the graveyard. But now we've got 2 Eldrazi spawns. Lots of cards in hand here, though. So another setup turn. We've got to kind of wait, though, to pull the trigger. After losing our Urza Saga for free, we're sort of in this, like, okay, we are already behind, essentially, being on the draw. Like, 2 mana to the potential 4 mana, the Orzhov Blink. Like, being 2 lands down is crazy. But what can our Orzhov Blink player put together here? Another Surveil, another land to the graveyard. That's really nice. Surveil lands, MVP of Modern. Oh. How about that little top deck there? Stony Silence. Activated abilities of artifacts can't be activated. Now that's a nice little old school affinity hate right there. All right, 3 mana. It's time. Ketramos, the New Dawn, the big winner from Aether Drift. I mean, Stock Up is also another one that is seeing play besides the Markabat Walker, but really those 3 cards are like, those are the ones that you want. And like, I keep seeing people being like, oh my gosh, Stock Up is like $8, $10. I mean, those players must not have been playing when Fatal Push was first printed, because that's how much Fatal Push was costing. Like, it's sometimes there's a banger uncommon that just like it goes for that price, and people are like, just wait till it rotates out of standard, and it will go down. You know, I expect it to fall probably in that like $5 range, maybe $4. I think it'll still hold a couple bucks for them. There's not that many Modern decks that are running it. It's a good card, though. Like I said, I've been seeing some like Scape Shift lists, stuff like that. I've seen some like mono blue Tron lists that are running it, but it's not too crazy of a card in Modern. There's other tools that players are utilizing here. But now we get the big dump of cards out here for a Hardened Scales player trying to kind of combat the Ketramos. So Arcbound Ravager. So we do see it's like, okay, Arcbound Ravager sees the Boz, sees Hardened Scales. If a modular trigger, so Arcbound has modular 1, this comes into play with a +1 counter, so then it would become with an extra 1 and then an extra 1 on Hardened Scales. Is that how that works? I'm assuming yes. Again, it's been so long since I played it, but we're going with that. Some more experienced players, I always appreciate the more experienced Hardened Scales players getting in the comments and giving us the tips and tricks and nuances, because every time players come up and start talking about it, it's like, oh, I forgot that works that way, or I didn't think that works that way, or that's crazy that works that way. So like the nuances that this deck has is awesome, and it's very cool to see like really skilled Hardened Scale players to like show off just what the deck can do. It's really impressive. All right, we eat Urza Saga, trigger, lose a life, draw a card. Emperor of the Bones, gobbling up the goodies. Yeah, it's a time. I mean, this is it, right? Arcbound's out. We want to put a stop to make sure we don't die to an Arcbound Inkmoth Nexus next turn. Stony Silence is going to come out and put a stop. So there's the debate here, right? It goes, okay, do I pull the trigger and start eating things? Like, do we eat the Zabaz here and hope for the best? 3 mana still available. It's too risky. Right? Like, if we go, like, because there is that, like, if we were playing against another deck, you could go sacrifice the Eldrazi spawn, animate Inkmoth Nexus, gobble these friends up, put all the counters on the Inkmoth Nexus at the end of turn. But, like, 3 mana is a lot of mana available. With a Fatal Push, with a Solitude deck, we just get blown out and be even more behind than we already are, so we don't pull the trigger on it. All right. Again, the search options here are interesting. I think the next search off of Urza Saga, this one. So the debate here is, do we need the mana, or do we make a construct? I think making a construct might be more beneficial. You know, we're already at 2 artifacts. That'll be 3. That'll be 4. A 4/4 is pretty good, and then that kind of puts a little bit more threat and potential damage towards our opponent. But we go for the floating mana here. We did a lot more of the construct creating last turn, but not this turn. So we actually search up a Vexing Bauble, trying to have like an anti-solitude card. That's the plan. And part of it is based on the big beefy boy that is in our hand, the Ninja Turtle himself. Kappa Cannoneer is one of the reasons we run the Simic version of Hardened Scales. Lose a life. Okay, the debate here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, all right. Tap these. Kappa Cannoneer coming out. There he is. So yeah, that's the debate. Like, yes, the mana works out like that. But again, it's like the off chance something happens to the Arcbound or the Zabaz and we want to put counters on the Ink Moth, we still have that available. So that was the debate of doing that and doing the Cannoneer this turn, because then we get to try to push for damage next turn, because every time we're putting a counter on the Kappa Cannoneer from having an artifact enter the battlefield, we get to get our Kappa Cannoneer unblockable. Eat another Urza Saga. Draw a card, lose a life. Emperor Bones. Got a Fatal Push. Doesn't help us here. Got a couple. I mean, I guess we can. Yeah, we're in this mode of like, you have no way to block, assuming that the Kappa Cannoneer will be unblockable. Oh, that's really nice. Bogart Trawler. Gets rid of all the graveyard. Trigger. Draw a card. A lot of choices here, but not a lot to really do. Like, you kind of want to hold the mana with the Fatal Push, but try to kill something. I mean, really, it's like, if the Stony Silence gets answered, the game feels like it's just over, right? All right, Zabaz triggers. Of course, we're gonna get. We've got 2 Zabaz, so we get some more Spider-Man memes happening. Triggers. This will die. Modular. Bam, bam, bam. Of course, we cast an artifact, so we get 2 extra counters, and then we still have the Zabaz 2 modular floating here. And that becomes 4 more. Because of off the Zabaz, off the Hardened Scales there. So 8, counters already. Like we said, if the Arcbound was active, then we'd be okay, but it's not. Can't activate abilities. We have no way to destroy our other creatures, but we could get a big beat in there. 12 total damage, dropping our Orzhov Blink player to 2 life.
Is this a May ability for his exile?
And then it was a check. Hey, is the Emperor of the Bones a May ability, or can I just kill you off of this somehow? It says you may.
Just get you to kill yourself off your own
So
thing?
no, can't just have the person die for their own thing. All right, Fatal Push time. Get rid of the Zabaz.
This die.
All right, do we go all in on the Kappa Cannoneer?
We're gonna move it onto here.
Nah, we'll spread it up. Get 2 attackers here to help give us a better chance of victory there, right? We could have gone for like an Ink Moth activation, put some counters on it, but didn't. And then that forces the player to get a flyer to start blocking. But it's like we see okay, our opponent's at 2. We gotta get him. Now, seeing the Vexing Baubles lets everyone know this is not a Mox Opal version of the Hardened Scales. But I don't know if you necessarily need it. Yeah, it makes it faster, but compared to some of the other Mox Opal lists that are running around, like, I don't know, the Blue-White Affinity stuff, the Jeskai Ascendancy stuff, like, there's other Mox Opal stuff that you can do. I'm really excited to test out the Jeskai Ascendancy stuff on MTGO one of these days, though. All right, in the tank, you see the mana sort of getting spaced out and separated. It's like, okay, we have to find a way to stop the Kappa Cannoneer. There's very, very, very few ways to do that with the deck. Because of the Ward 4. Yeah, the baiting here. I mean, we get one more draw for sure off an Emperor of Bones combat. If we wanted to. Yeah, we go for it. Eat a Zabaz, draw a card, go to 1. Oh. Did you all see it? We drew an out. 5 mana available to us. We get to gain 4 life. Help add a little bit of a cushion. But we have the ability to answer the Kappa Cannoneer finally. And look at the mana just get shifted. It went from that like 2-3 split where we're trying to debate how to get ourselves out of this to immediately shifting the mana to 1 and 4 over there to pay for the ward. So something's happening. I guess these little nuance things of like the shifting of the mana, like it's hard to sit there and notice it necessarily. It's less obvious for players compared to, you know, like a One Piece or something like that, where they're like, oh, this Dawn, I gotta spread it out, want a bunch of 7K attacks or 9K attacks or something like that. But we'll see. Low life gain's nice. Yeah, so we can't really play anything else from hand. The debate is to do the removal now.
Go ahead.
That's right. Walking Ballista.
Walking Ballista, X is 2. Can't activate it, but we need to play an artifact. Yeah, what do you think about the
Move to combat.
sideways mana cost one from the special box? Do we swing both? I mean, it feels like there's the only reason not to swing both is because of the menace, but all right, here it is. Pay 1. March of the Otherworldly Light. Pitching 1, 2, 3. So 2, 4, 6
March it.
white, essentially, right? Each white spell we pitch for it, or each white permanent, each white card, white card that we pitch from our hand, essentially, will count towards 2 for its cost. So enough to be able to do that and pay the ward. Oof, that hurts. We thought the Kappa Cannoneer was strong enough to get there. And almost like any other matchup, that would have been enough. We dropped our opponent to 2. They went down to 1 life, and now they were able to kind of find a way out of that. That's insane.
What do you have me at? 5.
5.
Like, that's really one of those, like, showcasing right here what it means to be a patient player. Sitting here and really thinking through your lines and your turns and playing for your outs, going through, okay, what can I possibly draw here? How can I try to set myself up for the possible thing, and not committing resources when we don't have to. All right. 2 creatures here. How do we get rid of some blockers? 3 mana. Yeah, we see the doggo in hand, but that's like a later type deal. We can flash that in on our opponent's end step there or something. But you see the Flicker Wisp flicking back and forth in the hand. Looks like it's brought to the front, and we're going to be able to drop that down. Blink one of these blockers out of the way. Get rid of Walking Ballista. Walking Ballista automatically dies, but we're more worried about the Arcbound Ravager here to get rid of all of those counters. 7 counters is pretty scary. So let's get rid of that.
Move to combat. Trigger. Exile Sabaz.
Yep.
That seems to be the thing to do.
Let's eat another Zabaz. Draw a card. Go to 4. All right, bring the beats. 4 lifelink damage. Do we swing for more? No. Just in case.
Just attack.
Yeah, just think it's like we're also stuck with that. If we top deck an answer, a Beseiju or something like that, to the Stony Silence, things could turn around a little bit more because you could start eating things with the Arcbound.
2 is not 30.
Put some extra counters on Arcbound, eat itself, move those counters onto Walking Ballista, and start machine gunning down. Can we get enough? Let's see. Eat that. That's 2 more counters. Eat that. Self. Put 2 more counters.
Counter on cards.
Move the
Like I have
counters.
outs. I just-
Yeah.
I gotta find
Oof. All right. So there was the comeback we were talking about. We talked about a crazy comeback. That was it right there. Going down to 1 and coming back to win game 2. So now we're all tied up. 1-1.
I'll try it.
Game 3 coming out here.
I have all the good cards on my deck.
Not much time left.
Winning.
We keep talking about it. we keep seeing them on camera too. Lots of matches going to time, and the clock is ticking here, especially with the player having to mulligan as well. Not much time is left. Game 2 was a long one, a grind fest. Game 1 was pretty long too. So back and forth matches, tying it up 1-1. We'll see Game 3.
We're at time.
Don't kill me in fourth.
Active player turn 0. All right, active player turn 0.
Ink Moth.
Uh-oh. Trying to kill me.
Trying.
All right, an Ink Moth to try to kill the opponent. Turn 1. This is turn 2, technically. I guess I don't know if if the player's still shuffling up before the match starts. I don't know if it actually starts, but it doesn't matter. We're going to get 5 turns out of these players no matter what. It's, it says, I can't kill you. Maybe you could potentially kill me. Yeah, we could potentially, if we get the right stuff, like an Arcbound here, Hardened Scales, we could get, I've seen people win with a turn 3 Ink Moth kill. I guess this old cauldron could help us. We need a land and... No, there's not enough. We can't win. We didn't get a Hardened Scale. We didn't get extra counters. I guess Arcbound Ravager. Okay, let's see. Can we win? If we had an Arcbound Ravager next turn, we have to get another land. No, we don't have enough because we have to also be able to activate Ink Moth Nexus. So we would need... We don't have enough. That's all we've learned. If we were playing a Mox Opal deck, we would be able to, right? Christmas Land, Mox Opal, Arcbound Ravager, some 0-drop artifacts as well. Eat everything. Yeah. Oh, it's tough. I guess if we had played Urza Saga first, that could have given us the opportunity to do that. Here's a market back walker for 1. Just a nice little dude here. Doesn't matter because that's turn 4. Passing over to turn 5. Neither player wins. 1-1-1. Everybody gets 1 point. It's not a loss, but could mess up tiebreakers later in the tournament. And let's push that market back. Draw a card. It would have been interesting to see how Game 3 would have shaped up. Eat this in response to the exiling at the combat. 18-19, and that's it. GG's all wrapped up here. So we do get to see a little bit of what the sideboard cards players brought in.
That's right. Yeah.
Said I got to see 0 of my overlords there, which makes sense. So looking at some of the sideboard stuff, brought in some Snakeskin Veil. I've been trying this out in my Hardened Scales list. Like a lot of people do some removal stuff. Also got a little bit of removal or some counterspell stuff. There are Besages in there, but maybe an additional artifact enchantment hate was probably worth it. But look at this. We see Wrath of Skies. All right. Ugh. There's the Stony Silence. Vindicate coming in. Path to Exile. So lots of tools to be able to fight against this deck. And that's we talk about all the time with sideboard stuff of how you manage and deal with that. You know, you have to anticipate players are bringing in things to stop your deck. You have to bring in things to stop their deck. It's a nice little dance, and it's a hard skill to be able to learn. And hey, check that out. Hardened Scales deck tech on the screen there for you. But that's going to do it for us here today. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, everybody. And I'll see you all next game.